American Tobacco is the world's second largest listed tobacco group. It was created from the merger of Rembrandt, Rothmans International and Imperial Tobacco under the leadership of Anton Rupert. It has a market cap of 1 trillion rand, a price to earnings ratio of 19.3 and a dividend yield of 3%. Should I get Chris's thoughts on BAT before we get you to highlight how you don't like the stock? Chris?
Yeah, well, I think, you can always go back and say, moralize, what the company's doing and that kind of thing. But when you're looking at something that actually is giving you a dividend yield of 3% in a context where cash gives you quite a bit less, 3% dividend yield in a global context where you've got zero yields in many jurisdictions or close to zero yield, and that's not too bad. It's a company that earns its money in many jurisdictions, and so if one turns down, you've got the potential of protection in another jurisdiction, and that dividend yield and the earnings are quite secure and reliable, and that's the point. And that 3% gives you a pretty reasonable return, and it does tend to grow over time as well.
And if you move just to the side there, you can see that the performance is relatively reliable, would you say, as well, Paul?
Yeah, it's really benefited, I think, from its perceived place in London market, where it's principally listed as a global growth stock, attacking emerging markets, because they're taking their four big drive brands like Lucky Strike and Pall Mall and so on, and going out to places where they've acquired businesses like Indonesia and Turkey and Russia and so on and so forth. The difficulty I have is that I think it's benefited from that PE expansion. So it's not priced like a bond. It's on a 20 PE, it's on a 3.5% dividend yield, I'll give you that. But I just think there's a lot of rising sales and rising earnings priced into that. And they have been successful at raising prices. They've been able to convert ordinary smokers to smokers of their premium brands. But today, in fact, Philip Morris International is their major competitor. Had a trading update which looked very weak. We know that cigarette sales in the developed world are declining sharply, because it's becoming more and more socially unacceptable, and the price keeps rising, extremely expensive. So I'm concerned that it's kind of perceived wrongly. So I'm worried that even by the metrics we're talking about here today, the idea that this is a rainy day type situation, I don't think so. I think it's priced for sunshine, not for rain.
Is it priced for sunshine, Mr. Hart?
Well, I think Paul is correct that this is not exceptionally cheap, except the dividend yield is actually quite attractive, and that's what one needs to consider. And I'm not specifically referring to, is this the very best entry level into this kind of stock? This is something that one would maybe accumulate and be looking at as part of your core portfolio, rather than something that you're looking to trade.
Part of your core portfolio, is there any harm in having
what I would
heavy weight like
say,
this?
on a similar dividend yield, you've got global multinationals like Johnson & Johnson, which is trying to heal people that are not well, or help them wash their hair if it's dirty, and that is involved with medical devices and pharma and consumer and all that sort of thing. So that would be more, for me, the kind of thing you want to have. So for me, I really worry about British American Tobacco. Look, we are shorted, and as I'm sure you're about to point out, Bronwyn, we've been losing money on this one.
Was I really going to point that out? I'm not sure.
So, it's sitting at around 500 Rand a share. It's been supported much better in this market than in the London market because of the weakening Rand in recent months as well. So I don't know. My sense is that if we have a bit of a stabilizing in the world markets, which is my default view, not the kind of blowout scenario, then we could see the Rand strengthen a little bit. People start to, look at other options. And there's always this issue for me about earnings
Chris,
quality.
hot or not on BAT?
Well, as I said, just from an expensive point of view, it's sort of can I do lukewarm?
No, you can't do lukewarm. It's hot or
Then
not.
hot. Okay.
The rules of the game.
Hot.
Hot. Thank you. Hot or not?
No, not for me.